Okay,
keep
we
some
are
of this
live on
background
Periscope.
Put these headphones on.
Welcome, replay viewers on Periscope. Right now we're getting set up to record a podcast. Bear with us just a second here. We are perfect. And we are live on Periscope. Hello, everybody who's tuning in. I'm Jay Coulter with ConquerWorry. We have Chamique Holdsclaw with us today, and we're going to record a podcast for the ConquerWorry show. And this is only the second time we've done it, but we decided to turn the Periscope on and let you guys watch. If you want to ask some questions, just send them over. I'll try and watch them or look for them. Here is the setup we have in the studio. You guys are on an iPhone on a tripod. Chamique is on Skype, and then for me to communicate with Chamique, I'm going to be looking forward. So it's a little bit off, but it'll give you a chance to interact with her if you have any questions. So you know what, Chamique, that right there gives the best picture on our end for the viewers.
Okay. All right, right there.
Right there. That's it.
Gotcha.
Perfect. Okay. All right, so for those of you tuning in, if you would like to share this to help spread Chamique's message, slide right to left on your phone and click share, and put the message out on Twitter as well. We'd appreciate it. Chamique, are you ready to get started?
Oh, yeah, sure.
All right. October 2015, Chamique Holdsclaw interview. Thanks for downloading this episode of the ConquerWorry Podcast. Today we have NCAA and WNBA women's basketball legend Chamique Holdsclaw on the show to share her amazing story of recovery and mental resilience. Chamique, thanks for coming on the broadcast.
Thanks for having me, Jay.
Yeah, I appreciate our mutual friend, Mr. Edward Butler, connecting us.
Oh, yes, this is great. This is great.
Yeah, not only is he one of the top financial advisors in Alabama, I think he might be the nicest man in the state.
Oh, yeah, and to think that he used to hit people on a football field.
Right. All right, so podcast listeners, you should know that we are simulcasting on Periscope. So if you'd ever like to watch a show live and ask our guests questions, be sure to connect with us on Periscope. Our handle is, predictably, @ConquerWorry. So first, Chamique, I'm going to share some of your statistics from your career. Get comfortable. It takes a little while to run through this. All right, Chamique. Well, first, you led the University of TNLady Vols to 3 consecutive NCAA championships, including an undefeated season. Chamique was a 4-time All-American in college. She finished her career at Tennessee as the all-time leading scorer and rebounder. She was drafted number 1 in 1999 by Washington. She was the WNBA Rookie of the Year, 6-time WNBA All-Star, 2-time WNBA Rebounding Champion, 2002 WNBA Scoring Champion, a Sullivan Award winner, and a 2-time Naismith Award winner. That is a lot, and clearly, Chamique, you had a fantastic basketball career. Of all those accomplishments, which one do you treasure the most?
Of all those accomplishments, I think being drafted in 1999, number 1 in the WNBA. I mean, as a kid, this is something that we all dream about, and to do it and to be drafted with my grandmother in my home state of New York City, New York, it was just amazing.
I bet. So, our listeners find inspiration in stories like yours, and not the basketball statistics. Yes. Stories of people who get knocked down by some type of mental health issue, mental health fight, and they fight through it and they get back up. So first, let's paint a picture of your struggle. Now, I read that you feel like it all started when a woman who raised you from the age of 11, your grandmother, passed away in 2002. Tell us a little bit about that.
That was one of my triggers. It started when I was like 11 or 12 years old, when we were taken away from my mom and dad by the government. And I left a middle class area to go live with my grandmother in the projects. And it was just a big adjustment. The state said that my home was dysfunctional, but that was the only home me and my brother knew. So I went through a lot of emotional challenges.
I bet. So in your book, Breaking Through, Beating the Odds, Shot After Shot, you talk about a suicide attempt in 2006, I believe. Mm-hmm. Take our listeners back to that day.
Well, just think of this. I'm living in LA, Marina Del Rey, 3 blocks from the beach. You would think, wow, this is life. This is amazing. But I just remember coming back from North Carolina, where my stepdad was diagnosed with stage 4 cancer, and then my dad, who is schizophrenic, was really struggling with his mental health. I remember going to my apartment in LA and just overdosing pill after pill of my brain medication, not wanting to be here anymore. Just all these bad thoughts just cluttered my mind. If I take my truck and drive it into a tree, would anybody care? If I jumped off a building? And, I just started crying and just releasing with each pill I took. And then I had that cry for help. I actually called the young lady that watched my dog, and she can tell that there was something in my voice, and she rushed over to my apartment and actually got me to urgent care, and then urgent care got me in an ambulance and rushed me to Centinela Hospital. And it was one of the worst nights in my life. I mean, I overdosed on brain medication, so I had severe hallucinations. I could see a cowboy in a lasso chasing me. My heart rate going up. I thought I was going to die. I had to drink this fluid so that they wouldn't have to pump my stomach. It was really, really tough. And I just remember waking up, all white room in LA under suicide watch. And the doctor walks in. He says, I don't know much about women's basketball, but I know who Chamique Holdsclaw is. He goes, do you know that you're walking away from this uninjured? You could have had a seizure. You could have had paralysis to your face, hands, but you're untouched. He goes, you, young lady, can't let things get this bad, and I hope you get the help that you need. At that moment, Jay, I promise you, I looked straight ahead at this white wall, and I just said, hey, you know what? I'm going to use my platform to make a difference, because I have people that love me. I have people that want to be there to support me, and I have to start utilizing that. And I just want to use my voice to help others, because I didn't want to see people going through the same struggles that I had. The suffering in silence. I had outlets, but I chose to suffer, and at the end, it just exploded.
Right there in the hospital, you made the decision to start advocating?
Definitely. I mean, I was scared when the doctor told me all the things that could have happened, and I'm walking there, and I'm like, okay, it was a life-altering experience to some degree, and I was like, okay, I have to change things. I can't be embarrassed about this. This is a part of me.
Wow. So I read in an article in the Knox News that you spent some time with your former coach, the legendary Pat Summitt, after that period in time. Did you actually go to Knoxville and spend time with her in her house?
Definitely. Me and Coach Summitt have always had a close relationship, and she was worried, worried for me. She had been to DC a couple of times to help me when I was struggling there. Sent me a book by Kay Jamison called Unquiet Mind, and it was just a fantastic read, and I could just kind of really understand what I was going through. And I had to kind of just step up to the plate. Coach Summitt is like a mom to me, and I just wanted to sit there with her and just open up my emotions and feelings. And she said, hey, we all go through things. We all have challenges. I know your character. I know that you're an unbelievable woman, and I'm just here to support you, whatever you need. And that just felt really good.
So based on your experience, if you were giving guidance to somebody, that type of support network, it's invaluable, isn't it?
Oh, it definitely is. And, so many people that struggle with this illness have that support network, and we choose not to use it because, we just are basically stuck in our own heads. We think that no one else is going through the same thing as us. But as soon as you open up your mouth, you realize that so many people are struggling with the same thing. And from my experience, it's like once I opened up my mouth, so many people were there in support of me. So many people told me their struggles of how they got through their seasons of depression, how their other family members got through, things like schizophrenia, like bonding together. Support is something that is needed.
Right? I mean, think about the mathematics of it. So if about 1 in 4 people are struggling, and if only one other person in their life cares about them, 50% of the people walking around in your life are dealing with mental illness, but nobody's talking about it.
Yes, it's constantly swept under a rug, and we just have to change. My mission is to really change the conversation. I know sometimes it makes people really uncomfortable. I know for me, being a minority, going into, Black homes and talking to people at my church and like, hey, this is something that I struggle with. I know that you're struggling with the same thing. It's okay to get help. At first, take it back to like 2006 when I first started talking, it was just like, what is this young lady talking about? People were looking at me literally like I was crazy, because in our culture, we're learned to, when you struggle with things, you keep it in your household. You don't let people know what's going on outside. But we have to just change that mentality. It's okay to say, hey, I'm weak. I need support. And you fast forward now to 2015, as I go around to different organizations, especially churches, I see how the conversation has changed. Pastors are saying, hey, some people suffer from seasonal depression, and it's like, hey, might feel good today, might not. But some people really have major chemical imbalances, and you can't really pray that away. You need to go to a doctor and get the help that you need. So I see slowly but surely how things are changing.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'd tell you, along that same line, a couple friends of mine who are mental health advocates, Gabe Howard and Andy Berman, they recently came on the podcast to have a discussion about the general ineffectiveness of mental health advocacy today. And at the end of the day, we concluded that most advocacy work is still directed at the people that already know the message. How can your profile as an athlete help broaden the reach?
Well, I think for me, I just look at it like when I was a professional athlete, and we would go out and do community service, and you always start with like the younger kids, and they call it like grassroots. And that's sort of what I try to do. I try to use basketball. It's like a disguise to kind of get the kids there. And then bring in someone to teach them life skills and a psychologist to kind of get them to open up about their feelings and emotions. And so at the end of the day, when you look around and you have kids 10 years old talking about the different moods they feel or when they're upset, I feel like change is coming. These kids are expressing themselves. To hear 11-year-olds say, sometimes when my dad leaves for business trips for a long time, I get really sad and I don't know what to do. I'm like, hey, young lady, do you realize what you guys are doing? Like, you just express your feelings around someone that you didn't know. And you realize if you take stories from all of you around here, you all kind of like going through similar things. And so you have these young ladies who are really coming together and like forming a bond and not even knowing it.
Chamique, well put. So I tell you, I read in an ebony.com interview where you said your self-care routine, and we're big on self-care routines here at ConquerWorry. So this was about a year ago, and you had said that it was weekly therapy, staying on medications, meditating, and exercise. Are those still your 4 routines?
Oh, definitely. And honestly, I can't live a healthy lifestyle with this bipolar disorder if I don't follow, I call it the protocol. I've tried to do it, my way, and my way didn't work. I was one of those, the medication gets you feeling good. You think, hey, I don't need it. And then you toss it to the side, and then you have episode, and you pick it back up again, and then you keep going on and off. And that didn't work for me. And it got to the point where I said, in order for me to be a better citizen, a better daughter, a better friend, because I was ruining friendships, family ties, because of my inconsistency as a person. I knew I had to change. So, I got on my the right prescription, because people have to know sometimes when mental health care, just because the doctor gives you medication, tells you to take it, it doesn't necessarily always work well for you and your body. So you have to communicate it. And, it's been trial and error, and I'm finally on a medication routine, which is really helping me out. I make sure I work out, because that's a good release. And meditation, for me, quiet time is very important because I give a lot of my time to other people. Since I was younger, just out in the community, helping others. I was brought up that way in the church. My grandmother fed the homeless. I was right by her side. And people who tend to give to others so much don't take care of themselves. So when I wake up in the morning, I just have to have just complete quiet and just have meditation where I'm just reflecting on, positive things that are occurring in my life and, releasing all the stress and pressure that I feel. And it's basically just changed my world.
I love it. So you use the term protocol. Is that something you came up with, or did you borrow that from somewhere?
No, I came up with that because it's like, it's almost like that regiment. It's like a regiment, just like an athlete. You're on a team, you have to follow like a certain regiment. So I just came one day, just propped up. It's like my protocol. This is what I have to deal with every day.
I love it. I love it. So I have exercise in my protocol, and I have tried for years to bring meditation into it. And I struggled and struggled and struggled. And then 2 weeks ago, I just couldn't get it to work for me. And not everything works for everybody.
Right.
2 weeks ago, I found an app called Headspace. And it's a free app. Have you heard of it?
No, I haven't, actually.
So it forces you for 10 minutes a day to sit there and listen to some guy talk. And so I told myself I was going to do it. And Chamique, it made a difference. I've been absolutely blown away.
Wow, I'm gonna have to try that. I started going to a meditation class maybe like 3 years ago, and it's like open eye meditation. So you sit there, you find a point in a room, and you learn to focus on it. The teacher kind of talks you through like breathing and things like that, and that really worked for me because when I close my eyes, I fall asleep.
That's what happens to me. And I think about everything else other than what I'm supposed to not be thinking about.
But that's not bad because, most people that meditate, until you practice it, first you have to try to get 1 minute, 2 minutes. It's something that you build upon.
So I think what sent me over the edge to try and make it happen is I read that Arnold Schwarzenegger in the 1970s started transcendental meditation. And he did it for a year before he went on his run as Mr. Olympia. Who would have thought?
Wow, hey, that's pretty amazing.
Yeah. All right, so I want to ask you a very specific question that you're very qualified to answer. So what advice would you give a 20 or 30-year-old today who's recently been diagnosed with bipolar? And actually, let me phrase it a little differently. What advice would you go back and give yourself with perfect hindsight?
I would tell a younger Chamique that your illness or disorder doesn't have to define you. You can still live a healthy lifestyle. And you can't allow the people, like I call them like naysayers, tell you can't, because you can. You just really have to take the time. And just like anything, if you want it bad enough, you have to work towards it. It just takes, following the proper channels. But you really, really can.
Gotcha. So it's a matter of, I think when you first get a diagnosis, you tend to think that other people aren't going to understand what's going on or believe you. Is that fair?
Yeah, and it's just hard. Like I was misdiagnosed for like 10 years, and when I found out like I was struggling with the bipolar disorder, it all made sense. Like my friends, everyone's like, "Oh my God, this makes so much sense." My family, because of her moods and the different things. But for me, I was so angry. I lost 10 years of my life. Like, if I have known what I know now and got on the proper medication and right therapies, it would have made life so much better for me. I would have been a more productive, 10 years ago. But, everything happens for a reason. And, I'm happy at the place that I am now in life and able to help others.
Yeah, better to lose 10 years and then not try to get better and spend your whole life dealing with it. So
Yes, Jay.
So you have a new film coming out. Well, there's a new film coming out next month called The Mind, The Unquiet Journey of Chamique Holdsclaw, directed by Rick Goldsmith. Tell us a little bit about the project.
Oh, wow. It's been out since since April at film festivals. Yeah,
I read it wrong. I'm sorry. I saw it was being released in New York next week, and I clearly read it wrong.
It's just a New York premiere. We've travel around to different states and have the different premieres, but it's been really received well. It's won a couple best features at film festivals, and we have just brought like a lot of people together, having conversation about something that's really affecting a lot of people. So it's just been really great. It's been really received well. I was really nervous because I opened up my life. I opened up my world, and people really get to see intimately what I struggle with, and my moments of weakness. And for me, being an athlete, being a competitor, you never want people to really see weakness in you. So I had to really get over that. I had to say, you know what? I know that I'm a person of service. I know that my journey is going to help someone else. And it feels good that it has. We've gotten great feedback.
I bet. Now, where could somebody watch the movie?
Well, as of right now, it's called Mind Game: The Unquiet Journey of Chamique Holdsclaw. You can go to actually Cogno Communications. That's KOVNO Communications.org, and you can purchase a DVD if you would like.
Excellent. We'll put links to all this in the show notes. And tell us, how could listeners get a hold of you if they wanted to bring you in for a speaking engagement?
Well, you can contact me on my personal website, and that's www.holdsclaw.com. At the moment, we are fixing it up, changing some things, so it's not up and running right now, but that's where you can contact me. And as always, you can contact me via Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. I mean, people hit me up from all over.
Great. Hey, thank you so much for coming on the podcast, and thanks for all the work you do.
Jay, the same to you. Thanks for having me.
All right, podcast is over. Periscope is still on. Periscope viewers, thanks for tuning in. And the replay will be available for 24 hours, and then we will repost it on YouTube on the ConquerWorry channel.